was a chilly fall night in November 1966. Two young couples drove into the TNT area north of Point Pleasant, West Virginia, when they realized they were not alone.
In many ways, Mothman has become West Virginia's favorite cryptid.
Klein visited Point Pleasant, uncovering the legend behind the Mothman.
The guy that he worked with were out there working on a vehicle and saw this big thing in the tree.
It was famously seen near or on the Silver Bridge right before the collapse in 1967.
He is both, because there's no actual
Mothman was
proof
first
that he caused the collapse. He could have just been
People
saying,
were
hey, it's
split
going
on whether Mothman was good or evil.
out the break.
Some speculated that Mothman caused the collapse somehow, while others speculated he was just trying to warn us of
Where did this monster come from? Why did it suddenly appear in this small town? And perhaps most curious of all, why were the first Mothman sightings followed by the visit from the moon?
They saw that night has evolved into one of the greatest mysteries of all time. Hence the Mothman legacy began.
Case 1. The Myth. The story of the Mothman surrounds the town of Point Pleasant, West Virginia, in an area known by locals as the TNT area, a grouping of abandoned World War II bunkers. According to locals, the Mothman is depicted as a hybrid creature with features resembling both a human and a moth. It is said to stand anywhere between 6 and 8 feet tall, with a wingspan exceeding 10 feet. Despite variations in its appearance between different eyewitness accounts, the one detail that remains constant among all sightings is the presence of glowing red eyes. Despite its monstrous appearance, the Mothman was never known to be violent towards those who claimed to witness it. Instead, the Mothman came to be known as a warning of impending disaster, often showing itself just before such an event occurred. Case 2. The Evidence. The first recorded sighting of the Mothman goes back to November 12, 1966, in Clendenin, West Virginia, when Kenneth Duncan and 4 companions were digging a grave for his late father-in-law at a local cemetery. According to Duncan, a humanoid creature soared directly over their group and into the surrounding forest, though none of his companions shared this sighting. It was only later that Duncan's story was shared after his friends heard about a second sighting just 3 days later. And on that day, November 15th, 1966, Roger and Linda Scarberry, along with Steve and Mary Mallet, reported witnessing a tall flying entity with wings spanning 10 feet and glowing red eyes within the TNT area in Point Pleasant, West Virginia, approximately 80 miles away from Clendenin. As the group fled in Roger's Chevy, they noted the creature reappearing in front of their vehicle and rising into the air. And according to the couples, the creature never flapped its wings as it pursued their vehicle up to 100 miles per hour. It is unclear what led the Mothman to Point Pleasant from Clendenin. However, it can be noted that every recorded sighting since fell around the Point Pleasant area. In the May of 1928, a steel bridge, later known as the Silver Bridge, was opened, spanning 2,200 feet and connecting Point Pleasant to the neighboring city of Gallipolis, Ohio. Despite its seemingly sound design, the bridge deck was supported by only one chain on either side, and on the evening of December 15, 1967, the bridge collapsed, leading to the deaths of 46 people. According to several locals, the Mothman had been spotted flying on or around the Silver Bridge in the period leading up to its collapse. During his interviews with locals following the collapse, American journalist John A. Keel drew connections between it and the prior sightings, believing the Mothman to be some sort of prophecy or warning of impending disaster. This interpretation would later be recorded in his non-fictional journal titled The Mothman Prophecies, which would later receive a film adaptation by the same name. Case 3. The Truth. Following the events in 1967, sightings of the Mothman seemingly declined, and it wasn't until 1975, nearly a decade since his visit to Point Pleasant, when Keel published the Mothman Prophecies. In January of 2002, director Mark Pellington adapted Keel's journal into a film sharing its name. With its release nearly 4 decades after the Mothman's last reported sighting, Pellington's film helped revitalize its story, exposing it to an entirely new generation. Later that same year, in September, the first annual Mothman Festival launched in Point Pleasant, likely as a way to influence tourism after the recent success of Pellington's film. Since then, the festival has been held every year on the 3rd week of September, and serves as an event for enthusiasts and fans from all over the globe to meet and discuss the famed cryptid. Most recently, in November 2016, an unnamed man photographed what is believed to be the Mothman while traveling along Route 2 in Point Pleasant. Despite declining an on-camera interview with the local news, he adamantly argued against any sort of editing done to the photos, and even claimed to have no prior knowledge of the story before taking these photographs. Since then, cryptids have found their way into pop culture through many forms of media, including films, video games, and even social media through creepypastas, a form of internet short story often written within forums as a non-fictional personal account or journal revolving around supernatural occurrences.
We may never know what truly happened in Point Pleasant, but if there really is a Mothman out there, like moths to a flame, I will not rest until I bring its existence to light.